Hey guys, Lori here with Voice in the Dark and spiritscrossing.net. I thought I'd just tell some stories today. Um, it's about learning to be more present in our everyday life. Um, I've worked in the food and beverage, casino, and gaming industries for most of my life. And so I got to see a lot of people and, spend time getting to know people and whatnot. And so there were times where, I'd be having a cigarette break and be talking to someone, and all of a sudden they're telling me something that is truly an emotional upheaval in their life. And it's an ongoing thought and problem because they haven't found a way to justify it or let it go. And now, I'm lucky because the Holy Spirit will come through me real fast, and I'll sense it. So I just kind of step aside and let whatever that one sentence is that the good Lord puts in my mouth, and you can see the people light up like a light bulb, and almost like they were shocked, and and they thank me and say, I needed to hear it like that. That solved my problem. I can let it go. And a lot of times, that's all people need is a different perspective from someone else that is on the outside of whatever they're thinking and feeling, and then they can walk free of that particular thing. And so that's one way of being in the present moment. And because you can just tell if you're really listening and just allowing yourself to be present and take up space, but make space for another human being that needs to talk. Um, it can be, it can just be the miracle they might need that day. And you might be the one to make that difference. The Another time, when I go to the store or something, I am like anyone else. I am in a hurry, and being an empath, I'm real. Sometimes I'm anxious or nervous when I go in a store because I can feel the energy of everyone else, and it's very difficult sometimes to pull it down so that I can, So then I put up a wall, and then I just buzz through real fast. Well, this was kind of one of those days because there was quite a few busy people in there with big carts full and stuff, um, and I had my kind of wall thing up, and but I got over to the what I call the first aisle on the far left, and was walking down it, and here was a young, well, not a young woman, an older woman. She was short, and her big, tall, big husband. They were older couple, and I noticed that he was definitely with a serious case of dementia. And she was nervous. I let my walls down all of a sudden, and I was like kind of surprised by that because normally I don't. But then my walls came down, and I guess the universe, my spirit, knew that this was something that needed attention, so pay attention. So I slowed down, and I looked her in the eye, and I smiled real big. And she just looked at me shocked and then smiled, and then the smile hit her eyes. And you could tell that's something she needed. She just looked at me and she was like, "Thank you." And I go, "You're welcome." And then I realized she goes, "I'm sorry." I said, "No, no, no. Hang on a minute. I'll take care of this." Her husband had found the hair supplies, for brushes, combs, and colorful, doodahs for the woman's hair. And he was standing there playing with things. And I saw somebody try to come down this way, and I stopped him. I said, "No, this aisle's closed for a little bit. We've got customers that need to shop, and she needs to be relaxed. So stay over there, and you can come in when she's done." And This person looked at me and got really mad, but took off because I'm pretty big at no. So then I came back up this way and I blocked it off. Another woman was coming through and I said, no, this aisle's closed temporarily while this woman gets to do her shopping real fast. And they were like, what? And I said, just go to the other side of the store. It'll only take her a few minutes. We're giving her some peace. And I turned my back on him. And I looked at the little old lady, and she looked at me, and I said, now shop and take your time. He's busy. It'll be okay. And I watched him, from where I stood, and he would play with the hair things that were colorful, and he'd press them until they started making a wobbly thing, and he'd just watch it, and then he'd press it again, and so it would wobble some more, So it was like a child. That's how bad his dementia was. He was already into a very small child in a very big body. And but you could tell because this woman, she kept wanting to make, I'm sorry. I said, no, don't be sorry. Let me fix this. So I did. I mean, it might have only been one aisle, but it helped. And other people, they backed off. They were, a couple more people tried, another woman, came back. But I said, you have to wait just for a few more minutes. So go find somewhere else to go. I can get by with that, I guess. But I'm not saying to just boss other people around. But there are ways of doing it gently and kindly to not embarrass the person that you're trying to help. I didn't want her to feel like I was doing anything extraordinary for her. I wanted her to know I was just doing it because she obviously just needed to be able to relax and fill her damn basket and not worry about her husband and what other people were going to think because, he's a child in a great big body. And it made her nervous. And I'm sure people have made her nervous. But for her to look at me in the eye and just all of a sudden realize I'm looking her in the eye and smiling, and she smiled, and then she really smiled, and it hit her eyes, and it was like, she said, thank you. And because nobody does that anymore, and especially when it's the elderly, they got their hands full. She might not be doing all that great either, but she has to do better because her husband can't do anything. And she has to take him with her everywhere she goes. And, if you can give a person peace for just a few minutes, that's a miracle to them. Be the miracle. So just slow down so you can be in presence of your surroundings in case someone's in need. Now, another time, I had been working down southern part of our state, and I was coming back, and I was tired and grumpy. But I was stopping at a store to pick up some stuff before I head home, and mostly snack food for me, junk food on the way home. But, the usual. But it was kind of a rush hour. It was, around 5, 6 o'clock. So there was a lot of people in there that day. And there was a pretty good-sized line. We were lined up, and I was second in line. And it was a little old woman. She was with her basket at the checkout. And, back in their day, they went through the Depression. So every penny counted. So when you paid a bill, you paid so much in cash, so much in change. You always tried to use your change. And she was having trouble getting her change out of her little coin purse and her wallet thing. And she kept looking at the line and looking at me. And she goes, I am so sorry. And I looked at her, and I looked at the line, and I looked at her, and I said, listen to me. As long as you take breath, you have a right to take up space. And the cashier started clapping real loud. And the customer looked at me, and she said, thank you. She goes, I just feel so slow these days. I said, I know you do, but you know what? You paid your dues. Don't worry about it. Take as long as you need. And I turned around because you could hear a couple women in the back. And I turned around and looked at the first two, and they went, oh, yeah. And then the two bigger, broads, I call them broads because they were kind of mean. I looked at them and I gave one of them looks like, excuse me? Someday you'll realize that you paid your dues too. Now settle down. You make her nervous, it's going to take 10 times longer, and I'm going to let her take it. They'll shut up. But the point being is, I don't care who it is. As long as you're taking breath, you have a right to take up space. And if you're slower, that's okay. And if there's somebody impatient in line, just ignore them. Or look at them and go, nah, whatever you got to do. Because you have a right to take up space. And whoever is in line with you, they should recognize that and stand up for you. And if they don't, you just stand there in your own ground. I think that we need to start paying more attention to the needs of the many instead of the few. You're okay. So if you're worried about time, just say to yourself, God's got my time, and take a deep breath and relax. God may be holding up your time right now because that person in front of you needs a little help or a little encouragement, a little compassion, a little love. If we don't start loving more fiercely, which means including everyone, what are we then? What good are we? What good are we if we are not looking at each other with compassion and love? You miss a lot when you listen to all the stupid shit they're putting on the damn TV and the YouTubes and the TikToks. And I've taken a look at some of that crap and I think, you got to be kidding me. Why are young women selling themselves short just to get a bunch of people to go, yeah, I like you, I like you, I like you? They don't like you. They like looking at your tits and ass if you're showing it, but that's it. It's not you. So stop. And stop listening to all the bullshit going on. They're just trying to drive all of us nuts and divide us and get us to be on our edge all the time. Screw that. God's got you. God's got our lives. He's got our world. Screw them, whoever they are. I don't even care who they are anymore. I used to, but not anymore. All I care about are the people that are compassionate and loving, the normal, everyday human beings here on earth that are dealing with things that are personal. And us taking an extra moment or two to identify that and give our 2 cents on however it can be helped. And do it, by God. And don't be afraid of standing up for somebody else. I mean, don't do it in an ignorant way, but don't do it, and do it quietly if you must, But let them know that there's one damn person in that line or that store that gives a shit, that sees them. Everybody would like to be seen once in a while. And just smiled at, like, hi. Because that might be the only fucking smile they get all year, all week, all month. Because you don't know what everybody is dealing with behind closed doors at home, especially the elderly. And yes, some of them are cranky and cantankerous. You know why? They're cranky and cantankerous because we're getting older. We're getting scared because our mind doesn't work as fast as we'd like it to. And our body doesn't work the same way. Of course, I'm of the new age, and I believe I can fix all that for myself. And I have been. However, that's not how everybody else feels. So until they start getting the feeling that they can do that too, be kind. Kindness doesn't cost you anything. And let me tell you something. Kindness, it's actually a big payout for you when you open your heart a little more every day, you realize you do make a difference. The biggest problem with most people, especially angry people, is they don't feel like they make a difference. They don't feel like anybody notices them and the things they do or they're suffering with, or, even their good deeds. So take a little more time with your neighbors, with the person you're sharing an aisle with at the grocery store, wherever. Just a couple extra moments, 2 deep breaths, kind of feel your way into certain things. You'll feel it. But one day I was just picking up a light meal, fast food, driving through Hardee's. So, and no, I'm not, I don't get paid by them or anything, but it's just up the street. So anyway, but there was a car behind me when I pulled up to pay for mine. And I said, how much is their bill, when he got done talking on the microphone with the car. And he said, $4 and something. It was just coffee and something. And I went, I'll pay for it. Take it off of there. I always have to ask because I never know. One time it was a carload of kids and adults, and I couldn't quite foot that bill that day. So, but so always be responsible about your money. But anyway, paying it forward's fun. And I don't worry about if it looks like it's somebody that needs it. When you're paying it forward, you're doing it blind. Especially when you pay for the bill behind you, because you don't know who they are. You don't know what their walk of life is, how much money they have. You don't know if they need it or not. The whole point is, it isn't about if they financially need the help. It's not about if they need help at all. It's about kindness. How many people do you know that have enough money and they're always out helping people? Always. So if you can't get to them and help them somehow, then at least find a way to pay it forward and help other people without being concerned whether or not they need it or it's a charity case or anything like that. Just do it out of kindness. Kindness is the biggest thing that can get us through all of this grief and misery and mockery and of a government and mockery of the world right now, because it's crazy. Ignore it. It's all to set your skin on fire and make you all nervous and irritable and keep your energy down, and go out and make your energy alive again. Open your heart a little bit by being kind and using some compassion, being in presence more. And so anyway, but when I got done paying for it, the guy handed me my card back, and he looked at me and he goes, "You just made my day and gave me my faith in humanity again." And I looked at him, and he was a young man. And I looked at him, I said, "Well, cool. I'm glad. I hope you have a better day too. Do I need to buy you something too?" And he goes, "No, I'm good." He goes, "But thank you." He goes, "You put my faith back into humanity." So you see, it wasn't even the car behind me who needed anything. But my intuition just said, okay, how much is it? I'll pay for it out of that. This young man needed to know that humanity was still okay. And that, so he was the one that needed the gift of kindness that day, even though the kindness wasn't for him, it was for someone else. But he needed to witness it. So I've given you 3 stories that have different scenarios to them and different needs that were met. And start making your own stories. Stories you can tell your grandkids. Stories you can tell your friends. Be the ripple. Be that drop in the water that creates the ripple. And And once we get everybody doing a ripple effect, oh my gosh, can you imagine how happy and how more centered and loving we will be as a human species? You know, humans of Earth, can you hear me? This is our time to glow. This is our time to love fiercely against all odds. Love fiercely. This is Lori at A Voice in the Dark. Blessings and love. And get out there and start, being part of the change that we're all just starving for. Love you. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye.